Welcome to The Debate. Today, we're delving into a really critical subject that shapes our daily digital interactions, the evolving landscape of authentication. We're specifically going to dissect the inherent complexities of device-bound security, primarily exemplified by passkeys, and sort of weigh them against these innovative, truly keyless architectures being proposed by Secure My Digital or SMD. Our central question for this discussion is pretty clear. In a world that's increasingly reliant on, well, a multitude of devices for basically every digital interaction, are solutions like passkeys the ultimate answer to our security woes? Or do their intrinsic challenges concerning management, recovery, and, susceptibility to future threats actually mean we need a bolder pivot towards truly keyless approaches? I will argue that passkeys represent a vital and currently effective leap forward in digital security.
And I'll be presenting the case that while passkeys, yes, offer some improvements, their device-bound nature introduces significant new vulnerabilities and, frankly, management challenges. This advocates for more resilient, fundamentally different alternatives.
Okay, so I firmly believe passkeys are a crucial cryptographic leap forward. They're a major milestone on our journey toward a truly passwordless future. Their fundamental design makes them inherently phishing-resistant. How? Well, they achieve this by utilizing robust public-private key pairs. Think of it as a unique, unguessable digital lock sitting securely on your device, paired with a publicly visible key that services use to verify you. Now, crucially, your private key, your actual proof of identity, is stored securely in hardware enclaves. These are isolated, tamper-resistant sections within your device's processor, making it incredibly difficult for attackers to just pull them out. This device-bound nature isn't a flaw. I see it as a profound security advantage. It prevents the remote attacks that have plagued traditional passwords for, well, decades. Moreover, you have the major tech giants, Google, Apple, Microsoft, all unified in supporting FIDO sign-in standards. This simplifies authentication across a really diverse array of devices, websites, apps, entirely eliminating the need for that single vulnerable password. This approach, it effectively eliminates passwords and reduces attack surfaces dramatically, directly addressing many of the long-standing weaknesses that have made traditional authentication so problematic. It's a pragmatic, widely supported solution tackling immediate, prevalent threats with tangible benefits.
I understand the allure of solving those password problems. I really do. But my perspective is that while passkeys aim to address such traditional issues, they simultaneously introduce new challenges that are particularly pronounced in our hyper-connected, multi-device world. Passkeys inherently lead to what we call ecosystem lock-in, basically binding users to major tech providers' ecosystems for managing and syncing credentials. More critically, though, they present significant recovery hurdles. Just imagine the no-key, no-access scenario if your primary device is lost, stolen, or it just fails. This often translates into fragmented and, let's be honest, quite painful recovery processes, leaving users locked out of essential services. The very notion of device-bound security in a multi-device context can be, well, paradoxical. Our source material highlights this clearly, noting that storing multiple keys on a device can create a new target. With one hack, you get all the keys. Jackpot. Now, that insight reveals a critical shift. Instead of securing one password somewhere in the cloud, you're now managing a collection of high-value targets right there on your device. This doesn't eliminate the attack surface. It shifts it. It moves from the cloud to the device itself, and from passwords to key storage. This underscores the urgent need for a fundamentally different paradigm, something like SCMD's vault-list architecture, which operates with no stored secrets, no honeypots for attackers. That offers a much more inherently resilient model, precisely because there aren't static secrets to compromise in the first place.
Okay, your concerns about recovery and the jackpot scenario, they're understandable points. But I believe they overstate the risks and maybe underestimate the robust mitigations already in place. The core strength of passkeys is precisely this device-bound nature. Each private key is unique to its device, secured within that hardware enclave. Now, the seamless sync across devices that you mentioned, facilitated by ecosystems like Apple, Google, Microsoft, that isn't really about weakening individual keys. It's about user convenience. It allows you to access services from any of your registered devices. each acting as an independent, secure credential. And these platforms, they are actively developing and refining recovery solutions. If you lose a primary device, recovery can often leverage other trusted devices already registered to your account, or use established recovery flows that verify your identity through alternative means.
The goal is ensuring that a lost device doesn't automatically mean a lost identity. The risk of a jackpot scenario from a single device compromise is also significantly mitigated because access to these keys requires further authentication, typically, biometrics or a PIN right there on the device itself. A physical breach doesn't just grant access to all keys. It requires bypassing these additional layers of local security. So while managing multiple keys might sound daunting, the architecture is actually designed to distribute risk, not consolidate it, making each device an independent stronghold against phishing.
Right, but I'd argue that perspective kind of overlooks the practical realities and, frankly, the potential for consolidated risk. While hardware binding offers security on paper for a single device, yes, it severely complicates the recovery with loss in our genuinely hyper-connected, multi-device world. It's not just about losing one device. What happens if you lose access to your primary set of trusted devices, maybe due to theft or simultaneous failure? The no-key, no-access scenario becomes a very real and often painful recovery process that can lock users out of critical, sometimes life-dependent services. And this convenient syncing keys across multiple devices or just managing numerous keys on a single device, despite that extra biometric layer, inherently creates a new kind of centralized vulnerability. The source material's jackpot reference isn't just a theoretical warning, it's a critical insight into this new security paradox. The very convenience of multi-device access, if it's not meticulously managed and architected, can transform our personal devices into these high-value targets, concentrating risk rather than truly distributing it. If an attacker gains privileged access to a device, they might indeed gain access to all the keys stored there, potentially bypassing local authentication. This fundamentally undermines the promise of passkeys being a complete solution, especially when you consider people sharing passkeys, which often defeats the very device-bound security they're meant to provide in the first place. Okay, shifting our focus a bit now. I remain unconvinced about the long-term viability of passkeys when we factor in the looming threat of quantum computing to asymmetric keys. The foundational technology behind passkeys relies heavily on asymmetric cryptography. Our source material, in fact, highlights a critical long-term vulnerability. It states that current asymmetric keys used in passkeys are noted as not quantum safe. Now, this isn't some distant science fiction scenario. It poses a future threat as quantum computing advances, a threat that might nullify all the effort of deploying the passkeys infrastructure. Doesn't that make you pause? Doesn't it make you question the massive investment and deployment into a passkey-centric world when its fundamental cryptographic underpinnings are known to be vulnerable to future computing power? Why build an infrastructure that could be rendered obsolete by what seems like an inevitable technological leap, rather than investing in solutions that are quantum resilient from day one? This feels like a significant strategic flaw, not just some academic footnote.
That perspective on the future threat of quantum computing is certainly a valid area of academic research and strategic planning, absolutely. But let me offer a different framing. While the long-term theoretical threat is indeed something the industry is actively preparing for, passkeys offer significant and immediate security improvements over the rampant vulnerabilities of traditional passwords that we face today. We're talking about protection against phishing attacks, right? Which are a far more common and exploitable threat right now than hypothetical quantum attacks. The industry isn't just standing still, it is actively engaged in developing post-quantum cryptographic solutions. Those will be integrated into future authentication standards as the threat matures. The current passkey infrastructure provides a robust defense against present-day threats, offering tangible protection now against the most prevalent dangers out there. We really can't let an unquantified future threat paralyze us from making critical advancements that secure our digital lives today. The evolution of cryptography is an ongoing process, and passkeys represent the best-in-class solution for today's digital landscape, with a clear path for future upgrades when needed.
I appreciate the focus on immediate threats, I do.
But the strategic flaw remains. Ignoring a known, significant future vulnerability just because current solutions are better than passwords, well, that isn't a sustainable long-term strategy for digital security. It feels more like a temporary patch that will eventually fail. Furthermore, by securing the private key so heavily on the device, we are, as our source material suggests, shifting the vectors of attack to the public key infrastructure side. What does that mean? It means attackers might pivot their efforts away from individual devices or weak passwords. Instead, they could target the broader public key infrastructure, the centralized systems managing key registration, revocation, validation, or they might try to manipulate the attestation processes that confirm a device's legitimacy and the integrity of its hardware enclave. Now, if those foundational systems are compromised, it could lead to systemic vulnerabilities affecting potentially millions of users simultaneously. That's far beyond the scope of an individual device compromise. This, coupled with the inherent difficulty of recovery due to hardware binding, makes the entire system less resilient to a wide range of sophisticated systemic attacks. In contrast, look at SMD's vaultless architecture. It offers no stored secrets, no honeypots for attackers. With dynamically generated keys, exposure of one factor or device does not compromise the identity. That provides genuine post-breach resilience, something passkeys inherently lack, because they still ultimately rely on a secret, even if it's a device-bound one.
I'm not convinced that argument fully accounts for the layers of defense built into the passkey ecosystem. While theoretical shifts in attack vectors are always, considered by security architects, the public key infrastructure and the attestation mechanisms within FIDO standards are built with multiple layers of cryptographic resilience and distributed trust. Compromising these would require a highly coordinated, very large-scale attack on multiple disparate systems and organizations. That's far more complex than phishing an individual password or even attempting to breach a single device. The very nature of device-bound keys means that a breach in the attestation layer wouldn't automatically grant access to the private keys stored securely in those hardware enclaves. They remain protected by biometrics and the device's secure element. The whole point of focusing on hardware-bound keys is precisely to prevent the widespread compromise that happens when credentials are stolen from centralized cloud databases or easily phished. This dramatically raises the bar for attackers across the board. Furthermore, let's not forget, passkeys significantly enhance the user experience. They move beyond the extra steps and device dependence of traditional MFA, making authentication seamless, fast, which is absolutely crucial for widespread adoption and, by extension, improved overall security for the average user. The platform ecosystem supporting passkeys are actively developing and refining recovery mechanisms to address device loss. They aim to provide robust recovery options without compromising security, which demonstrates a real commitment to addressing these challenges within the passkey framework itself.
I understand the arguments for layered security and convenience, I do. But the issue remains that passkeys, while yes, an undeniable improvement over traditional passwords, they just aren't a complete or future-proof solution. Their reliance on device-bound keys and these ecosystem-specific recovery mechanisms creates new single points of failure. Whether it's the jackpot scenario on a compromised device, where, like we said, one hack gets all your keys, or the broader public key infrastructure itself becoming an attractive systemic target. This isn't just about usability, it's about fundamental resilience in the face of increasingly sophisticated and adaptable threats, especially considering that known vulnerability to quantum computing. We are, essentially, trading one set of problems for another, potentially more complex and harder to recover from set, without addressing the underlying paradigm of stored secrets.
And I would counter that the distributed nature of passkeys, where each device holds a unique, phishing-resistant credential, fundamentally reduces the impact of any single breach compared to the catastrophic fallout from a centralized password database compromise we see so often. The industry's collective effort in developing and adopting passkeys is precisely aimed at creating a more secure and user-friendly internet. It offers tangible, immediate protection while continuously adapting to new threats. It's an evolutionary path, perhaps not revolutionary, but one that leverages existing infrastructure and provides critical safeguards against today's most prevalent attacks.
So, as we conclude, it's clear that the journey toward truly robust digital security presents complex trade-offs. There's clearly no single perfect answer here.
Right. And I maintain that passkeys represent a vital and transformative step forward in securing digital identities. By effectively eliminating the inherent weaknesses of passwords and leveraging these device-bound, phishing-resistant credentials, they offer significant, tangible benefits for users and businesses in today's digital environment. With broad support and continuous development from the leading tech providers, passkeys are demonstrably the best-in-class solution for the prevailing threats we face now, and they lay the groundwork for a more secure future, even as cryptographic landscapes inevitably evolve.
And I argue that while passkeys are indeed an improvement over traditional passwords, their device-bound nature introduces new and, frankly, unresolved challenges in our hyper-connected, multi-device world. The complexities of key management, the no-key, no-access recovery scenarios, that jackpot vulnerability of storing multiple keys on a device, and the looming acknowledged threat of quantum computing, these all underscore the need for a more fundamentally resilient, truly keyless architecture. Solutions like SDMND's vaultless security, with its focus on post-breach resilience, address these deeper architectural challenges by fundamentally altering how we think about authentication, moving beyond static secrets entirely.
This discussion definitely highlights that the journey toward ultimate digital security is ongoing and multifaceted. Different solutions address different facets of an ever-evolving threat landscape, each with its own strengths and its own considerations. We encourage all our listeners to, delve deeper into these perspectives as they navigate their own digital security practices and think about the future of authentication,